This week, a school bus is struck by gunfire. Plus, thieves steal $1 million worth of valuables in a violent home invasion. And
what I saw is the gun pointing straight at my head.
A taxi driver is lucky to be alive after being shot in the face by a passenger. Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. For our first story this week, we begin in Jamaica, Queens. That's where a 16-year-old boy was shot and killed in broad daylight as he was getting off an MTA bus after school.
In Queens, that's where we're going right now. Police are investigating the death of a 16-year-old boy who was shot and killed there.
Yeah, that's right. It happened yesterday afternoon. So Wednesday afternoon at a bus stop, broad daylight, right after the teenager stepped off the bus. Good day's Briella Tomasetti has the latest on the investigation. She's out in Jamaica, Queens. Briella, a lot of people saying these two may have known each other.
That's what it appears right now, Dan and Tashani. Good morning to both of you. The NYPD, though, saying that 16-year-old victim was ambushed right when he got off that city bus. Police now looking into whether the shooting may be gang-related. Here's what we know so far. It all went down at around 2:45 yesterday afternoon, right after school. Police responding to a 911 call for a person shot at Liberty Avenue and 172nd Street. When they arrived at the scene, they found a 16-year-old Sincere Jasmine unconscious with a gunshot wound to the chest. He was rushed by ambulance to Jamaica Hospital in critical condition, where he died from his injuries. According to police, Jasmine got off that MTA bus before being shot. He tried calling for help also before he collapsed. The suspect ran off eastbound on Liberty Avenue. We got reaction from a man who coaches sports at a local park but didn't want to show his face on camera. We also heard from a neighbor. Take a listen to what they had to say.
When I've been here, I feel like it was mostly relatively safe, especially at this time that we're coming.
I'm pretty surprised that I heard that a 16-year-old got shot. I really don't see no violence, no people over here, really.
Investigators say the suspect was last seen wearing a black vest over a gray hoodie and sweatpants. He was also carrying a black backpack. If you have any information that may help lead police to an arrest, you're being urged to call the Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS.
We now head to Canarsie, Brooklyn, where a 54-year-old taxi driver and father of 5 survived a terrifying attack when a passenger shot him in the face after some type of dispute.
A driver sporting a bandage on his face where he was grazed by a bullet after he says that he and a passenger got into an argument during a ride in Brooklyn early this morning.
Fox 5's Duarte Giordino is outside the police precinct in Canarsie where the shooting took place. Duarte, what can you tell us?
Right now, police at the 69th precinct, they're trying to find the person who allegedly took aim at this driver. And once again, they responded early this morning to this incident that took place around 1 o'clock in the morning. The State Federation of Taxi Drivers is calling it an attempted murder. They say it also highlights a growing risk for drivers all over the city. Now, the driver in this case, again, he survived, but he's shaken. And when you hear from him, as Steve mentioned, look at his face, because that bandage you see is the spot where the bullet hit him.
When he stepped out of the car, he says, "I will have to kill you. I took everything that you have." So at that point, that gets my attention. Immediately, I turned back to look at his face one more time. What I saw is the gun pointing straight at my head at point blank.
And that's when he pulled the trigger. Now, the man you just heard speaking his name, the driver, is Prince Nzikwe. He is a Nigerian immigrant. He has 5 children under the age of 10. And he works for BB Car Service out of East New York. He says he arrived at the pickup location near Flatlands Avenue and East 101 Street here in Canarsie just after 1 a.m. He called the passenger to let him know he was outside. That passenger, police tell us, got into the car. Then things took a turn. And Nzikwe says the passenger asked him to turn around because he'd forgotten something. When Nzikwe refused, the two argued, and that's when the driver claims the passenger told him, and this is a direct quote, "I have to kill you." Now, one key detail you want to keep in mind is that the passenger was wearing a face mask. Only his eyes were visible when he allegedly pulled that trigger.
Like I said, I'm the luckiest man alive. I'm the luckiest man alive, so I can't complain.
It should be illegal for anyone getting into a cab to be wearing a mask. it should definitely be illegal, but most importantly, drivers do not pick these individuals up. We will deal with helping you navigate through TLC or fighting the summons or fighting the fight, but your life is more important.
And he was referencing the fact that if a driver refuses to pick someone up, that person can file a complaint against him. Now, because the suspect in this case was wearing that mask, it's going to be difficult to identify him, even though there was a camera inside the vehicle. And tonight, the Federation is offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's arrest. And they say attacks on drivers are becoming far too common in the city, often committed by a small group of repeat offenders. So now the Federation is urging Governor Kathy Hochul to take action. They're asking her to issue an executive order to change bail reform. And once again, a 54-year-old Nigerian immigrant is alive tonight, but he was shot in the face by the man he says was his passenger. And tonight, officers at the 69th Precinct are looking for that shooter.
Up in the Morrisania section of the Bronx, a school bus was struck by gunfire.
Now to that breaking news in the Bronx where a school bus was hit by gunshots.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, but police do say riders were on board. Fox 5's Linda Schmidt has more on this one. Hey, Linda.
Yeah, first of all, good evening to both of you. And the crime scene here has been cleaned up, but I want you to take a look over my shoulder because there are some police officers that are out here, detectives, that are combing the area right now. They were sent out here just a short time ago to comb this neighborhood to see if there's any other possible evidence that they could find out here. Now, go ahead and take a look at the video. This is what it looked like at 25 after 2 this afternoon. A school bus that had occupants. There were several people on the bus. It was traveling at East 165th Street and Trinity Avenue in the Morrisania section of the Bronx when it was suddenly hit by gunfire. Now, thankfully, police say nobody was injured, nobody was hit. So far, no arrests. But again, it happened about 25 after 2, and there were people on that bus. So it's a miracle nobody was injured. In the meantime, the investigation's still ongoing here. As I said, at least 2 officers, detectives out here combing this area, searching for any other possible evidence. But a school bus that was occupied, hit by gunfire at 25 after 2 this afternoon.
Over in Kew Gardens, Queens, a group of burglars stole more than $1 million in valuables from this house in a brazen home invasion.
NYPD looking for a group of suspects who they say stole more than $1 million worth of clothing and jewelry from a home in Queens.
Fox 6's Michelle Ross is live from the scene in Kew Gardens. And Michelle, we're hearing from the woman who lives there and was at home at the time.
And the wife wasn't the only one home at the time, Natasha and Steve. Her 3 young children and the nanny as well. Her husband is a real estate developer. He was away overseas, and it's unclear at this time if the robbers knew that. Security video catches the moment these 5 unidentified individuals rush into the house. The wife told reporters that her nanny was throwing out the garbage and that as she came back into the house, they ran back in with her. This was around 7:30 last Tuesday evening. They made off with $1.1 million in jewelry, Hermes handbags, clothing, artwork, and other sentimental items. She says they tied her and the nanny up with duct tape and locked her up in a closet. She heard her 6-year-old daughter screaming and was banging on the closet, so the robbers let the mother be in the daughter's room. Once they left, she untied the nanny untied her, and they locked the door before the robbers tried to get back in for a second time.
Scared. I don't feel comfortable. I don't have peace of mind to even come out my house to get a food delivery from my door. My daughter is having trouble sleeping, so I don't know how to address that with her. Hopefully it's nothing too bad.
She also says that a neighbor saw these 5 or 6 men sitting on a park bench nearby, wanted to call 911 because they looked suspicious. They were wearing masks, but didn't end up calling police. Now, they did make off in a getaway car with a 6th unidentified individual, also wearing a mask. They were in a white Toyota RAV4. If anyone has information on who these individuals are, police want to hear from you.
And finally, we end in East Harlem, where just days after being stabbed in the neck by a homeless man, a bodega worker is now speaking out about that incident.
Fox 5's Linda Schmidt is live outside the food market at 3rd and East 116th Street. Linda, the man who was stabbed is already back at work today?
Yeah, I mean, this is one crazy, crazy story. Sometimes these things, it's like it could only happen in New York. First of all, this happened on Wednesday. We were up here on Wednesday reporting on this thing, and the bodega worker was stabbed. It was broad daylight. It was 11:30 in the morning. He was inside the bodega when he got stabbed. And get a load of this. The poor guy, it was only his second day on the job. And he says it was all about candy. That's what it came down to. Go ahead, take a look at the video here. He spoke out earlier today. Now, these are pictures of 24-year-old Sidi Mohammed in Harlem Hospital after getting stabbed in the neck. It happened at the food market at East 116th Street and 3rd Avenue in East Harlem. Now, this surveillance video shows the suspect with a screwdriver in his hand. Mohammed says the man did not pay him the correct amount of money for candy, so he asked the man for the rest of the money. It was a quarter that he owed. And he says the suspect, who was either high on drugs or emotionally unstable or both, attacked him.
He's a crackhead, and he tried to kill me, you know. I scared a little bit, and he just punched me.
Mohammed said that he ended up calling 911 himself, and then he went after the suspect.
And I just took myself like that. I took my jacket off, and I put him like this, and I walked outside for him. He just left, stopped, and I go outside for the cops.
All right, now, once again, the stabbing happened on Wednesday, 11:30 in the morning. That was Wednesday. Police arrested the suspect yesterday because he was known to the neighborhood. He is 43-year-old Ari Ortiz. He is a homeless man who is now charged with attempted murder and assault.
That's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.